Hey there folks, so welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture. And today we are finally going to be talking about the newest album from the Turnpike Troubadours called A Long Way From Your Heart. Well, it's about damn time, isn't it? Seriously, if it wasn't for Patreon tier shifting this down, I would have covered this record a good month ago. And frankly, I'm a little bit surprised the country fans that I do have supporting me on Patreon didn't vote for this more. Maybe it's just a factor of the band not quite having the same mainstream breakthrough or name recognition as so many of their indie critical darlings. And yet, talk to any indie country fan in the know about a go-to band for them, I would put money on Turnpike Troubadours showing up pretty damn high on a lot of their lists. They're definitely picking up a lot more of that audience around the world. So, okay, for everybody else, who are these guys? Well, they're an Oklahoma country band that's been putting out some pretty damn excellent textured country albums for the past decade. And just like Parker McCollum, they are entirely independent and have built up a pretty impressive grassroots following. But even though they do flirt with some of the rougher sides of Americana and some southern rock, nobody would dare to say that these guys weren't country through and through, keeping the guitar and the fiddle tempos pretty high and playing aggressive to match up with some remarkably textured and impassioned lyrics that have supported them on record after record after record. Now, I will say, I'd be hard-pressed to find a single album of theirs that stands out the most. They got the sort of uniform high quality that informs bands like Blackberry Smoke or The National or Spoon. But the album I got into the most with the second record, Diamonds and Gasoline, that just nails that ramshackle edge just perfectly for me. Although their self-titled album in 2015, it's damn solid as an introduction too. And thus, when some of the critical buzz going in was suggesting that this was somehow even sharper than their previous records, maybe more of a standout, you can bet I finally wanted to cover this. Even if it hasn't been proven to be the breakout just yet, I want to do my part and dig in. So, what did I find on A Long Way From Your Heart? Well, you know what? Turnpike Troubadours, they did it again, because this is a damn great record. And honestly, it's a sort of subtle greatness that has characterized so many of their albums already. Sharply written songs with phenomenal melodic interplay, solid production, and a sense of grounded wit and detail that makes so many moments on this record stand out. But for the album, is it a standout as a whole in comparison with the rest of the country scene? Well, a little bit tougher for me to say, but if you're gonna go to characterize A Long Way From Your Heart as having any unique quality to itself in comparison with Turnpike Troubadours' rest of their discography, it's a feeling of maturity and world-weary experience that doesn't so much mute the edges that are going to come through, but does weather them, provides a little bit more texture and gravitas, and I can say I definitely appreciate that. And really, what works for this record is what has worked for so many Turnpike Troubadours records already. Great tonal balance in the production and really solid foundational melodies. Yes, the record doesn't quite have the same hard scrabble edge that I love so much about Diamonds and Gasoline, but you know what? Listen to that firm bass groove that drives up like it's the blast of harmonica and banjo on the winding Stair Mountain Blues, or the warm, thick acoustics of Unrung that I really like with a great melody and then hook there, or those phenomenal touches of fiddle and accordion and old-time feeling like before. Hell, just in terms of acoustic-leaning mid-tempo ballad-like songs like Pay No Rent and Sunday Morning Paper, they're just damn great tracks on a compositional level, with real attention paid to the low-end groove, guitars that have a real, rich, organic tone that sounds phenomenal, some damn solid organ and saloon piano that never gets distracting or overplayed, an interplay that can balance out all these melodic elements excellently, masterfully. And then you get songs like Pipe Bomb Dream that manages to crank up the momentum just through a usage of a faster kick drum beat, a much deeper guitar groove, and a phenomenal fiddle solo. But you know what? It really goes deeper than that. This record breezes by at such a clip that you almost don't realize how many of these hooks will just stick in your brain, or how often they will rely on minor key progressions that buck against conventional country compositions, and with such deft craftsmanship that you really don't notice how meticulous it can sound with such effortless energy. Now look, if I was to nitpick here, and I kinda have to, I will say that frontman Evan Felker's vocals can feel a shade too quiet at points. He's got the intensity, and he's only becoming more of an emotive singer as he gets older, but as a frontman, I think he could use a little bit more presence overall in the mix, like on songs like The Hard Way or Tornado Warning, even if him sounding drowned out and a little bit in the cacophony cacophony. In the latter case, that is kind of part of the point. But on to that point, let's talk about the songwriting, where I would argue the most pronounced change has really come through. Now, it has been mentioned that Evan Felker has found some form of sobriety and a little bit more stability in recent years, given some of his wilder antics in the past. But you know what? If art reflects life, it definitely comes through on this album, with the record starting off with the Housefire and leaving our protagonist confident that he'll find some way going forward and sure of his partner's love, but is a little bit shaken nonetheless, even calling back to some of those characters that he's established in previous albums. And if that's that weight of experience and time that repeatedly colors the best songs on this album, it's an acknowledgement that he's not gonna tear it down the same way that he used to, but more because the consequences of said actions can come through much more starkly nowadays, such as actually getting caught and winding up in jail on Pipe Bomb Dream. But what I really love about this album is that while there are some stakes and consequences are there to ground these songs, it never becomes patronizing or hectoring, even with friends that are still very much living that fast, hard life, like on the Winding Stair Mountain Blues, where while he's struggling to make a living, that friend is living hard, they winds up in an incident that turns out with guns. Now thankfully, the one person who got shot made it out alive, but he can't run in that same way when he's got to put food on the table. Or take Unrung, where he sees a fellow musician friend hooking up with a much younger woman, and he wants to warn him of the possible danger here in their age separation, but he ultimately stays his hand and tells the girl not to hurt this guy too much, showing a restraint that, yeah, I really do respect. And that restraint plays exceptionally well to the songs about relationships on this album. Yeah, it might play a little bit broad on something to hold on to, but go to the wistful remembrance of old time feeling like before, knowing that a far more successful and famous old flame will wander back into his life if only for a time. He just hopes that they can play the encounter in a major key and leave behind some good memories, and that's a good sense of camaraderie I appreciate. And that sense of camaraderie and companionship comes through perhaps the best on Pay No Rent, where Felker and former band member John Fulbright, they wrote about Felker's late aunt, but even with some of the details, there's enough ambiguity in the song overall to apply to any girl behind the bar who has long moved on, but you've cultivated that friendship that you remember all the time. Very reminiscent of the excellent James McMurtry song, These Things I've Come to Know, in the best ways possible from 2015. God, I love that song, and this one's a good comparison. Hell, I even dig his appreciation of rock's increased age on Sunday Morning Paper. Perhaps a little bit cliche, but I'll admit I'm a sucker for these sort of songs. I liked it when Deep Purple did this a year ago with Johnny's band. I like it a lot here too. Now again, I do have some nitpicks that come with some of the writing. I know A Tornado Warming is playing a little bit more light, but I do wish it had captured a bit more of that sense of danger that comes with confronting a twister. And I'm not sure how much longer moonlit encounters that she doesn't remember on songs like Oklahoma Stars will work in today's day and age. Even if I do appreciate how the song is framed with some wistful regret, includes very much consent, and includes some damn solid backing vocals from Jamie Lynn Wilson, the choice of words on the song and framing the situation could have been a little bit better. I get going for ambiguity, but you probably didn't want to here. And maybe it's just me, but for as quick as this album can play, I do wish they had opted to maybe give one more ballad on the project, give Felker's writing a little bit more space to breathe and fill up some more texture here. But you know what, if my complaints are that I'm asking for more on this album, you got yourself a damn good record indeed. For me, solid 8 out of 10, and for sure a recommendation. Folks, there are very few better country albums that have come out like this in 2017, and you're gonna want to make time for this one. I know I'm late to the punch, but you definitely want to check this out. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, I'd be more than grateful. Yes, I know I'm late to the punch, but seriously, you want to get this one. Buying in the link below. This is an indie country act. You want to support these guys. I got the poll up there. I'm curious where more hardcore Turnpike Troubadours fans fall on this, especially when in comparison with other records, so the poll's there for you to tell me. And beyond that, if you want to support this channel or get involved in my schedule so I'm not a month late covering this, the link to my Patreon is right over there, where 3 times a week you guys get to vote on my schedule, and once a week for the higher tier contributors, you guys get to add albums, movies, or even a top 10 list to that schedule. More details right over there, but till then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.